Hello, Namaste. Thank you for tuning into Quantum Investing channel. This is your host, Sarat Chalam Charla. Today, we're going to talk to a guest. Before I introduce him, I would ask you to smash that like button, share my video, and also subscribe to my channel. This is really important for this YouTube algorithm to bring my videos up. The person we're going to talk to, he is into real estate for a very long time. He is a go-to guy for hard money lending or anything that can help you strategize how to deal things in real estate industry. He has been into single family homes, commercial and all, and lately he is into mobile home parks. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Julian Wrubel. Hello, Julian. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Great. Can we start with tell us yourself? What's your background and how did you get into real estate? What you have been doing?
I've been in real estate since I was 6. And when I say that, I mean that I literally played with the blocks that were in my house. So we had Legos, but we had like wood blocks, and I would build things with those blocks. And when I got in trouble, I would be sent to my room, and my mom had a 1957 full set of encyclopedias, and I had nothing else to do. We didn't have phones, right? So I literally read the whole encyclopedia, which was entertaining for me, being a nerd. And then when somebody would ask that question, it used to be, what do you want to be when you grow up? The answer almost exclusively then was you wanted to be a police officer or a fireman. And I wanted to be a contractor. Fiddle with things. I wouldn't say I was necessarily born handy, but I made myself kind of a handy person. Built a couple homes with master builders as their apprentice. And then I ended up going to architecture school. And then so sort of along that whole arc, got involved with people that were more skilled with me at the things I was interested in. And so, I've split land, I've flipped homes, mobile home parks, rentals, you name it. So just anything that smelled of real estate, I was interested in that. I've made every mistake somebody can make, I think is the bottom line. And here we are today. I just absolutely love it. I dream it. I sleep it. I'm sort of obsessed with real estate in general because I am. I guess I was born that way. And then too, it is still the very best way to build and maintain wealth. So bringing the passion of real estate together with wealth building and community, I'm just feeling very grateful about all of that.
Great. So the very first official deal, I would say, how did you do that? And can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, my first official deal was in New York City, and I had met the girl I'm married to, and we were walking down the street, and I pointed to this building, and I was like, that's my favorite building in New York City. It's this beautiful Art Deco building. And she laughed. I'm like, well, what's so funny about that? She said, well, she had been a realtor in that building over the summer making money. And she remembered there was this apartment for sale. And I'm like, well, let's go see if it's still for sale. I just had to have it. And at that point, it wasn't very expensive. So, made an offer, got a mortgage and moved in and lived in there for not even very long because we moved to Arizona, rented it for, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Until effectively the board pushed us out. We would have had to have hired an attorney and done a big fight. And we were living in Arizona, so we just let it go. But it was actually in New York, an apartment in New York City in an Art Deco building.
How do you do your financing on the deals?
I have an answer for that, but do you have a specific question behind that?
What kind of creative financing techniques you use while looking for a deal?
Seller carryback is always the go-to, right? If you can avoid, and I am a hard money lender, but if you can avoid a hard money lender, you're going to want to do that. Not exactly, actually, but seller financing is a favorite. You're going to hear some noise in the background, probably my kids. Right. But that's my favorite. And then any way to avoid using a bank. So, I've been a lender for 19 years. I've done conventional loans and hard money loans and all of that. And I just prefer to not use banks if I can. So it could be a partnership, could be leveraging, my own assets. I bought my first mobile home park actually with seller carryback. On that one, this one I'm closing on next week is seller financing. So that's the answer. That's the short answer to your question.
So you said you're a hard money lender, right? Can you tell us more about it? Who can get those hard money loans? And
Yep.
what is the minimum criteria we need to have to get into that?
Yeah, and I want to stress this because it goes back to your last question, which is the only restriction is imagination and patience.
All right.
So, I would rather wait for the deal than try to force an outcome. And so there are several tiers of what I generically call hard money lending. There's corporate lending, there's wealthy individuals, there's maybe families that come together and do something together. So all of that is hard money. When people are trying not to use the word hard money, you'll hear the word private money. Ooh, private money.
The same thing?
It's the same thing. If you're borrowing money that's not a 30-year fixed, basically it's hard money. 10%, 12%, 16%, 20%. And the criteria vary for each one of those plateaus or products. So it's not there's no cut and dry. You could have 700 FICO scores, but you want to put 0 down and you're willing to pay 17 or 18% and 5 points because you're buying something, you have to have it tomorrow. Or maybe you have more time and you can pick something up at, say, 9.9%, for 12 months. So unfortunately, it's not a simple answer. You don't have to have any money to get a private money loan. You don't have to have good credit to get a private money loan. It's really about your imagination and the relationship that you create.
Do you have to put any asset, or do they base the whole loan on the property we are working on?
Yeah, again, great question. There are times when the answer is no. It's just completely an asset-based loan on the asset itself. There are times where it might be an asset plus cross-collateralizing another property, So maybe you want to buy this property, we'll call it property A, and you don't really have the money, but you have another property over here that's kind of free and clear or has a lot of equity, and it might be better to kind of put a lien on both properties to secure the one property. So cross-collateralization is also a creative financing tool. Just to make sure, I'm at least trying to be clear, that just means that you might put a loan on property A and property B to make the lender happy.
So what is the average or a decent terms when we talk about the hard money lending? Let's say we're not talking about the private part and all that, but from a corporation or something, a hard money lender, professional one. So what is the average, or what is the best terms we can usually look for?
Okay, and those are not quite the same thing, right? So the best terms, you might hear somebody has an 8% rate. It's highly unlikely. So the sweet spot is 12% and about 2 points. So origination fees, right? That does not include the title fees. That does not include processing and underwriting. But if you're being approached by somebody who says 12 and 2, 12% interest rate and 2 points, that's somebody who's being realistic with you. If they can get you 10, that's great, right? But 12 and 2 is a sweet spot.
What are the fees we can expect in exclusive to hard money lending?
And this is sort of just a cautionary tale, right? We all want to pay the least fees and the least rate, myself included. but sometimes we can step over a dollar to get to a dime,
Okay.
right? If your deal's a good deal, a couple of extra dollars and a little higher interest rate's not going to change that. But basically right now, even the companies that are publishing that they do 9.99% are actually charging 12.9 and at least 1 point. So again, I sort of like run for the hills a little bit if it's less than that. And again, you want to see what other terms are involved. So 2% loan origination fee, right? Best deal right now is probably going to be about 10% interest rate, 1% origination fee. There aren't going to be a lot of those deals out there. And then you'll typically see ends up being about $1,000 in processing and underwriting. Really fair deal. 1% to 2%, 10% to 12%, and around $1,000 in fees. You know, you're in pretty good shape.
Can anyone be a hard money lender, or do we have to follow certain things like, legally, or do we have to register somewhere to be a hard money lender?
Every state's different. You can do a couple, 3, 4, maybe 5, but let's just say 4 you could do on your own. Take something really, really simple and make it very messy, very fast. I would suggest your listeners either become a loan officer or affiliate with somebody who's a professional to, determine whether they want to be a passive investor and sort of let that person broker, or if they feel like, you know what, this is something I really want to do, and even if I have a job, I'm going to do this part-time and really get educated, just like anything else. Get educated before you just jump into something, or work with somebody who is educated and you can learn from them.
How is your portfolio divided? Is it mainly single family homes or apartments? And I know you're into mobile homes, parks and all that too. So
right.
Could you please share how you work and what kind of deals you usually encounter?
Yes, I mean, so the upside of having done everything other than commercial is I've taste tested everything, right? I wouldn't necessarily suggest that if you really can identify your own investor ID. And that said, there's a progression, right? So, I mean, I at one point owned like 50 single family residences and, managed all of that myself. And we were developing all these lots and we were going to build another, 50, 100 homes, right? Several things happened. The market changed and it became a matter of efficiency. So the majority of my portfolio now is in mobile home parks. I have a couple of single family residences that I've kept because they're easy, and then I'd say, a pretty solid portion is in hard money loans.
How do you find the deals, if I may ask, for the mobile home parks, let's say? What is the main source?
You have to like this part of the business. If you don't like hunting and pecking and fishing, however you want to call it, you're just going to have to rely on other people. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, I like to roam. So roaming could be Redfin, roaming could be Zillow, roaming could be Realtor.com, it could be LoopNet, it could be Crexy, it could be Craigslist, right? It could be a Facebook group.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. And I don't use a lot of automation, right? So it would probably make sense for me to hire a VA to have them search and scan. But I enjoy that part too, because there's a flavor aspect to me that I think would get lost. But however, wherever, and whenever.
What kind of due diligence you do while looking for a property?
That said, there's over 125 steps that we perform when we're buying a park in particular.
Wow.
Yeah, it's long. So um, it's title, it's taxes, it's calling the police department, it's calling Chamber of Commerce, it's talking to the people at the water, the water department, it's going to city data or other websites that have demographics. So there are literally over 120 steps mostly to catch mistakes that we would normally make by rushing, not so much that we end up with analysis paralysis. I would say this is going to sound a little crazy. I don't like losing money, right? But I'd almost rather lose money than not ever do anything, right? Analysis paralysis is terrible. But we're very thorough in our checklist.
Yeah, sometimes things can be costlier, expensive, right? So,
well, this is the reason it became so extensive is that, and there's, again, you can hire other people to do your due diligence, and that's a great way to go, or you can do it all yourself. So again, I prefer to do as much of it as I can myself, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be the operator, or I'm going to hire somebody who's going to be the operator. And if I don't know the ins and outs of that project, you're going to lose money. Or someone's going to unintentionally take advantage of the situation. Again, because it's like if you don't watch the pot, it boils, right? So it's finding that combination of due diligence such that we're the expert on the property, but more importantly, so that we can train somebody on how we do things, so we know how to treat each other. And so again, if I don't do the right due diligence, I can't communicate that to somebody else.
So talking about the mobile home parks, so we're in Arizona, right? So are they state specific? How are things in Arizona specific to mobile home parks?
And that's a good question. Could go in several different directions. Yeah, the main thing in Arizona, but again, you could be in Flagstaff with the mobile home park. You're going to have snow removal. You have a park in Phoenix, you're not going to have snow removal.
Okay.
But pretty much everything else is going to be the same. You're going to have, you might have a different level of maintenance requirement in a heavy weather environment. So the process of underwriting or doing your due diligence is the same. It's just going to be, again, snow removal, no snow removal. What would be just a little bit different in those markets? You might have, you might have more termites somewhere, right? Pest control could be different in one location than the other, but really it's nominal. It's very small.
Sure. And with the current situation, COVID and all, I see the real estate is still climbing up. Are you buying new properties and all?
There's confirmation bias. And confirmation bias, if you're not familiar with that term, just means you kind of believe your own press.
Okay.
Right? So I'm an optimist by nature. And so I believe that things are going to go great. Created methodologies to make sure I maintain a certain level of paranoia. But again, that's a whole other conversation about demographics, Arizona, fires in California, hurricanes in New Orleans, as to why I feel like we're really in the right market and will continue to be for at least another 20 years, barring some other thing we can't even think about, because, COVID didn't really hurt the real estate market.
Yeah.
And we can certainly talk about it being propped up by the government and this and that, but the reality is it doesn't matter how it's getting propped up. It's propped up. And that goes back to people need a place to live. I think more importantly is, how do you treat people? I think anybody who's probably having a hard time with their properties and their renters, they're just probably not doing a very good job of being a good person. Intentionally or unintentionally, you didn't just treat people well and they treat you well back. We didn't miss a beat. We did not need to reduce our rents, but we did for 2 months. We gave everybody a discount. So we were proactive in that. But I'd like to think that it's because we treat them we believe we treat them well. I'm sure we're not perfect in their eyes. And so in return, they treated us well. That's, I think, the bigger indicator. And yes, I'm totally bullish on Arizona. But that being said, if you're kind of, again, new to investing, you may not have ever heard this, but it's how you buy that makes you money. It's when you buy, you make your money. So you always want to buy it right.
What suggestions you would give to the newer generations? Let's say a person has $10,000. What is the best way to get into real estate?
Okay, I mean, I'm completely biased on this. Well, first of all, it would be education, right? So a couple things I'm biased about. I would definitely get involved in Renatus. It's pound for pound the best money you can spend, most education, and definitely be in a network, a mastermind. So again, if it was one of your listeners that have been calling in and say, "What the heck is Renatus?" I want to get into it.
We'll put that in the comments below. I'll put the links and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that. That's the number one thing you can do is get educated, get in the right environment of people, right? The right community. So the right education, the right community. Where I'm supporting people who feel that they have a limited amount of money is to maybe get in on a joint venture with somebody they trust.
Yeah.
Could be a hard money loan, could be a fix and flip, but it would somebody who really is like family or brother, right? Because you want to be careful with that money. If all you have is $10,000, I mean, you need to do something with it. It needs to grow. So when I have somebody who approaches me, I offer them the opportunity to kind of do a partial share, maybe on a loan. Like we just did a loan for $17,000, and I'll put 9 in, and maybe they'll put 8 in, right? Something like that. So we'll do it together. That's a great way to do it. Otherwise, just education, get educated, and yeah.
That's the right way to invest in yourself, right? So.
Yes, and to the point, like I've met a couple of people lately who invested in education, hadn't done anything for a year or two, and now it's exponential what they're doing, because even while they didn't feel like they were doing anything, they were getting educated. They were in a community of people who were doing deals. They might have shadowed other people who were doing deals. They were kind of on the court. They didn't necessarily have their money in a deal, but they were seeing the flow of deals. They were seeing what went well. They were seeing what challenges other people had. And so again, being in the mastermind where you can be surrounded by people who are doing deals, that's all practically free. You just got to show up.
So with that, we have finished the base questions. I know I have a few rapid questions, I would say. You can answer it in one word, one sentence. So here it is. Best habit you're proud of?
That's so good. Meditation.
Beautiful. Best app or tool you would recommend?
I have a calculator app I love. Probably, actually, honestly, I mean, I hate to say it, but Facebook.
All right. Okay.
Facebook.
That's where everything is being done these days.
Yeah.
Best book, blog, or podcast you would recommend?
That's great. Just one. The One Thing. The One Thing by Gary Keller.
All right. Okay.
You can have the book, you can do the podcast, you can download it audio on Audible. Best book you can read or listen to. Absolutely.
First thing you do every day in the morning once you wake up?
Meditate.
Okay. That's been the most powerful thing, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's starting the day right. I mean, it's basically what I do. I get up, I drink a glass of water, and I meditate.
Yep. What advice you would give to 20 years old yourself?
Trust myself. Trust yourself more. You got everything it takes. Trust your instincts.
Okay. What is success means to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's about empowerment. So success to me is living in an empowering context. My purpose is creating wealth for for myself and others, my family, friends, and communities through real estate investing. So success is really seeing other people grow and blossom and succeed. And I mean, yes, do I have a dollar number? Do I have a lifestyle, kind of plan? I do. But success to me is the quality of my relationships more than the zeros in my bank account.
That's beautiful. Any quote you live by or think often?
I'm going to say it in two ways. One is, don't be an asshole.
Okay.
I say that to myself.
Right.
But the more evolved version of that is love and kindness.
What do you get inspired by every day?
I get inspired by our community.
Beautiful.
I get inspired by people who've made a choice that they want to. It starts with they want a better life. They see that real estate is the vehicle to do that, and they're willing to put the time and work into it and contribute to other people along the way. And I just find that to be really inspiring. I'm super grateful every day about that.
Sure. We will end with this question. Life is, fill it up.
Life is what we make of it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Julian. You have shared excellent things about hard money lending and also real estate in different aspects, how to deal and all that. It's really great talking to you here. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.